Well, hello and welcome, everyone. It is our second ROH Roundtable, and tonight we'll be discussing another very important topic, wrestling in the COVID-19 era. Tonight I'm joined by my television broadcast host, Caprice Coleman. Caprice, we are joined by a bevy of stars from around the world to talk about our experiences with wrestling in the COVID era.
Absolutely, man. It's kind of, when we say around the world, we take that lightly. But when we introduce these guys, if we can introduce where they're from, I think it's going to let everybody know that we are literally the best wrestling on the planet.
Absolutely. And we'll start first with a man from New England, senior official Todd Sinclair, representing the United States. And of course, representing Ireland, we have Session Moth Martina. She is here with us. Representing Australia, we have the great Slex, and we have women star Mandy Leon. And of course, the last time we were all together was in Las Vegas, Nevada. It was going to be the 18th anniversary. It was going to be past versus present. But since then, COVID-19 unfortunately has infected 5.17 million Americans. And unfortunately, that's led to 165,000 lives lost. As we work on a vaccine, as we work on social distancing, learning more about the virus, Ring of Honors take the extraordinary step to resume wrestling with extreme precaution. I'm going to open things up, though. Let's take you back to March, and I'll give this to Slex. Slex, when you got on the plane, did you know that Tom Hanks was infected with COVID? Because that was kind of the seminal moment in America where I think everybody really started to take it seriously. And did you have any inclination that you might have to come right back to Australia?
Yeah, when I got to the airport, when I was waiting, obviously I had business access to the lounge, so I was in the nice lounge there, and I was watching the news, and yeah, this is when it all started to really blow up here as well. As soon as Tom Hanks was found out that he had COVID as well, that's when Australia started to take it seriously too. So yeah, going on that plane, I sort of had an idea that maybe the show could be cancelled, but I was hoping that it was going to go ahead. And considering that I was getting on the plane, I thought, well, I'm sure it will. But yeah, things changed pretty quickly.
Can you walk the fans through your journey in particular that day? Because you had probably the wildest day out of anybody on the Ring of Honor roster.
That was crazy. I remember being in a lounge as well, and they've got if you've ever been into a lounge at the airport, there's free alcohol, there's, a full buffet of food, there's burgers, pizzas, chocolate cake, people offering you free drinks, alcohol. And I love to eat, I love to drink. But in the right there and then, I'm like, no, I'm going to be good. I'm on my best behavior. I want to look my absolute best when I get to Las Vegas. Then I get on the plane the whole way there, 15-hour flight. Sir, would you like this? Sir, would you like that? No, I want to look my absolute best when I get to Las Vegas. I am not going to have any bad food. I'm staying on my plan. And then, I don't know, before I landed, I had this feeling of, I've got a feeling the show isn't going ahead. I just had this feeling. And I landed, I turned my phone on, and my phone just blew up. Emails, text messages, calls, my wife. Show's being cancelled. Go back home. What am I going to do? I get off the plane. I've got 20 minutes to decide what I'm going to do because I've got a connecting flight to Vegas. I'm trying to get hold of someone in the office. My phone has really bad reception in LA airport, so I can't get hold of anyone. I'm freaking out. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? The airport is just like chaos. It's just absolutely crazy. I get to the point where I can either turn right to get to my connecting flight and go to Vegas and possibly be stuck in America and away from my family and not be able to get back home. Or I turn left and also risk not being able to hang out with everyone and the Ring of Honor family, but being able to go home safely to my family. And I had literally had a security guard pushing me saying, sir, you can't stand here. You can't stand here. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Right or left, right or left, right or left. And then, I don't know, thank God my phone rang and it was someone from Ring of Honor office, and they said, look, this is bigger than wrestling. This is a pandemic. This is serious. Go home to your family. And that right then and there, I was just relieved. And then I went straight to the bar. I got 2 drinks, 2 main meals, and pretty much gorged myself sick the whole way back home on another 15-hour flight back home.
Incredible. Martina,
Yeah.
you had a similar...
I remember texting Slacks like, no, come to Vegas.
Yeah.
Just risk it, just come.
I had you pulling me one way and my wife pulling me the other. I'm like, I want to go to Vegas.
That's what he was saying to me. He's like, I really want to hang out with everyone. I might risk it, but I think I better go home.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it was very different. Well, I ended up going, but I remember in Ireland, like things were kind of getting, that week, things were getting worse and worse. And my home promotion at home had like their biggest show of the year that weekend. And I kind of like wasn't paying attention to coronavirus before it. I was kind of like, you know, when you're like, it's something you hear about, but it's not as big as people are making it out to be. That was my attitude towards it. I was like, I remember when we were at home the night before our flight, that's when Trump stopped people going to America, but Ireland and the UK was still on the OK list. And this was at like 12 o'clock at night. And my flight, I had to leave for the airport at like 5 a.m. I was like, okay, as far as I know, I can still go. So I'm just going to go and try. And I didn't think it was, again, I just didn't even think it was that bad. So then I went to the airport and there was nothing at the airport. There was the bigger queues than usual, probably because people were like, oh, we better get home. But yeah, everything was fine. I found everything grand. And then I went from Ireland to Atlanta. And by the time I got to Atlanta, I checked my phone and Ring of Honor was still going ahead. And I didn't think anything was the problem. But I checked at home and like everything in Ireland had started to shut down. So all our shows have been cancelled and they were like, oh, we're going to close everything and Ireland's shutting down. I was like, oh, that's weird. But it didn't seem too big. Then I got my flight to Vegas and like, it didn't even really cross my head. I didn't have like that feeling that Slacks had. I was just kind of like, no, it's fine. Everything's good. You know, It's fine. And then I landed and as soon as I turned my phone on, it was just, and I was in the airport and it was like, show's been cancelled. Everyone's going home. I don't know what to do. And I got a message off someone there like, just come to the hotel. You're here anyway. Everyone's going to stay and see what happens. Then I went and that's when I was talking to Slacks and it was just more the case. We were like, we don't know what we're going to do. And I was looking at my phone the entire time being like, will I be able to get home? Like, it didn't seem too bad yet. Like, it was like, okay, flights are still going. So if we do whatever we do over this weekend, like, I'll probably still be able to get home. But as the weekend went on, it seemed to get, like, worse and worse. And it was like, okay, we got to go now.
I think it's important to emphasize as well because with y'all being international stars, not only being locked out of the country, but being stuck in because you can't get a flight back home is a really big deal.
Yeah, it would have been scary. Like, and like Slacks obviously has like a wife and kids and stuff like that, but it would just you're so you'd be just completely out of your comfort zone. You're in a country you don't know. There's just that feeling like I just want to be home and be safe. I want to be with my family. I want to make like, because at this point as well, it's like, what is this? Nobody knew exactly what coronavirus was. We didn't know how. I'm sure none of us over the Vegas weekend thought. I think we also had hopes that we'd be in Orlando. Like 2 weeks later, we were like, oh, well, hopefully maybe it'll go ahead, you know, maybe it's just this 2-week crazy thing. We all hoped, and here we are, 5-6 months later? You know what I mean?
It's been 5 months already.
Yeah.
Todd, you were one of the first folks to try and talk some sense into me because admittedly I had landed and I had said, well, you know, maybe it's just a flu or maybe it's something that might be bad and we don't know what it is yet. But very quickly you pointed out that the NBA and the NHL wouldn't have canceled if it wasn't something to be taken seriously. How did, you know, you're a little bit wiser maybe than I am, and maybe I had some youthful naivety, but how did you process that information on that difficult day, on that Thursday and Friday that we were coming into Vegas?
Well, I mean, I think the reason why I had the views that I had was I was watching this. I'm not a news guy. I don't watch the news, but some reason this seemed like a serious thing. So I was watching this for a few weeks. Whatever events we had a couple weeks prior to Vegas, I can't remember what that was, but I remember going out to eat with Slacks, Martina, and a couple other people, and we were sitting at the table talking about this, and it was just like, look, okay, if they're saying the percentages are, you know, 1% dies from it or this and this, this is going to blow up if it hits certain regions. And it just, to me, it just seemed like common sense. It was just a matter of time of when. And Vegas happened at that when. That was when it was. I mean, I got on the plane from New Hampshire. I took a connector, but when I landed from the connection, I had the office texting me, do we run the show? Like, ask my advice. And I was like, well, we have the options of canceling. And I brought up NHL, NBA. It seemed like they were already canceling their stuff. And then also the week before, Stardom had run an empty arena show and put it on YouTube. So I brought that suggestion of, well, what if we did the pay-per-view, the anniversary show in an empty arena? And that was, we've seen empty arena stuff. It's hit or miss. So the opinion was, rushing into an empty arena pay-per-view isn't the way to go. But yeah, it was, once I got to Vegas, I immediately started texting people, hey, if you're not on your plane yet, go home. Don't get on your airplane. And I think Caprice, maybe I hit you when you were on the plane on the runway.
On the runway, and I was hearing things or whatever, and then like once you get on the plane, you can't get off. So I feel like a renegade. I'm like searching my phone, and the person sitting beside me is all like looking at me like I'm about to cause the airplane to blow up or something. and then as soon as we get ready to take off, I click over and it's like shows canceled. I'm like, so I knew going in, man, it was canceled.
Right, but you still made it to Vegas, right? Or did you go home? I can't remember.
I had no choice because when we were on the runway, it was a straight shot to Vegas. So it was no stop or anything anywhere. So it was like I knew once we got there, that was it. And so I was like, okay, is anybody going to be there? And not to take away from your point, but with my thing, the scariest part were people on the airplane, and I thought they were overdoing it, but they came on the airplane with masks on and gloves on and all this stuff, talking about, I'm going to go party in Vegas. I'm like, with what? You know, and then once I got to Vegas, I've been to Vegas, I don't know, 8-10 times. And it was the first time I've been to Vegas, and it was like nobody was there. It was like you could go wherever you wanted to go. The car, it was like it was a ghost town.
That's what I want to hit with Mandy. Mandy, you were one of the first folks that I saw when I walked into the hotel. I came in a few hours before Caprice. Sam's Town was empty. It was, you could sit at any table. And normally that's not the case around dinner time. Normally there's at least, some crowd. And it just felt empty. It felt scary. Did you get a creepy vibe? I know you do the paranormal videos. They're awesome. To me, that felt like a paranormal experience to see Vegas. And then the next day, Friday, just empty.
Yeah, I mean, as far as my experience goes, it was really weird to see just the flip of Vegas, essentially. For me, I had a terrible feeling going into Vegas. I was like, I just have a feeling the shows are going to be canceled. I was that person on the plane, Caprice, that had like the gloves and the wipes. And I was like, okay, I think a lot of us just didn't know. Like you said, Ian, this is just another virus, another flu. We didn't know the severity of it while we were traveling. It was still up in the air. No one knew facts yet. So I think a lot of people were being careful, but again, I didn't have my phone accessible on the flight. I didn't know what was going on until landing in Las Vegas when we did find out that the shows were canceled. And it was St. Patrick's Day weekend. So there wasn't a lot of people. Like Capri said, there wasn't a lot of people around Vegas at that time. But when we did find out the shows were canceled, we kind of wanted the opportunity to go out a little bit and celebrate. Again, looking back at it now, it might be so irresponsible now that we know the facts and what's going on with it. But then we didn't know, and we never have time to hang out as a family when we are in Las Vegas. We wanted to go out, and kind of that was our last hoorah. It really was. We went out, we had fun, and then literally the next morning, Vegas was completely shut down, like dead. There was nothing. The streets were empty. If you know Las Vegas, obviously it's Sin City. It's a big party town. It went from shining lights to completely just pitch black. Everybody was rushing to get flights home. Ring of Honor really took care of us in that department and worked their butt off to get us all home safely. And the next morning when we knew how serious this was when watching the news, thankfully we got home safe. We stayed in our hotel rooms until we could get those flights. And, you know, God willing, none of us got sick. So it was a crazy experience. It really, really was.
Yeah, and just to pile on that, Todd, you're kind of the voice of reason. I ordered about $800 worth of non-perishable foods from Amazon because I was worried that I wasn't going to get home and that my family would starve. Caprice, you and I, man, I looked you right in the eye. I was afraid you weren't going to get
Pause,
home.
because he said that $800 like he is literally hitting the exact. We were roommates. And like, he was like, I need this, I need that. And I'm looking at him trying not to freak out, you know, and I'm like, this boy, he's buying food to survive. Like he's going into the world of the unknown.
Well, that was the biggest thing with it. It was totally unknown. And that was what I wanted to convey to the people I was hanging out with. We knew once we got there that we were going to tape some things the next day, I believe. But then I wanted to get out of Vegas and get home as soon as possible because I didn't want to get stuck there. So I think we did those. We taped like sit down interviews for TV with like the best of Jay Lethal and Taven, and we did a couple matches. And then once we were done, I had my flight booked. I got out of there. I think me and you, Ian, actually left that night.
Yeah, we'd seen Carrie Silken, who managed to get one of the last spots on a flight the day before. And then we had left the night we'd gone through some tapings, and it was a crazy time. We were trying to do Facebook Live just to entertain fans and to keep them up to date. We were the only national promotion running that weekend, so it was a very interesting time. I'm going to throw this to the international stars. Coming up, we have some events that we're taping for Ring of Honor Television, and we're doing it in the bubble environment. So to explain that to the fans, Caprice, yourself, myself, Todd will be a part of these events where it's going to be NBA and NHL style. There's going to be one central location. We've been tested about a week and a half previous to the event. We'll be tested within the week of the event, and then we'll be tested once more following the completion of the events. If there's a certain number of positive athletes, there will be contact tracing. If it passes a certain threshold, which is very low, the taping will not be conducted in the interest of safety. Ring of Honor is partnering with the Maryland State Athletic Commission to do this, and we believe we're the only American professional wrestling company to conduct a television taping or television presentation in a bubble. And so there is restrictions on movement. Ring of Honor is providing meals. They're providing anything that we may need during this trip, but it is a smaller crew. I'll throw this to Slex and then Martina. Do you get any kind of feeling about this? Is it FOMO? Is it fear of missing out? Is there anything that goes through your mind as you see this event happening, knowing that there's only going to be, maybe 20 wrestlers at the absolute max who are going to be at these tapings?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I just think it's Ring of Honor have been so amazing in their handling of this, and not running a show straight away when maybe they could have, and really taking the time and the patience and putting our health and safety, all the talent health and safety and the staff first. That's really important to me, and shows what a great company it is to be a part of. I suppose, yeah, there is fear of missing out, but at the same time, it's just awesome to see finally that maybe there's some light at the end of the tunnel where, okay, we're starting this show, and then if this goes well and we get through this, then the next one maybe we can be a part of that, or maybe it's, I don't know. It's just great to see that we're going to be able to run a show again, and this is just a test, obviously, and then if the next one's good, then that's going to help us get closer and closer to when we can get there. But yeah, there's a fear of missing out, but it's exciting. I mean, I'm going crazy at home. I've got 2 kids. I've got a little boy who's 1. I got a little girl who's 3, and I'm full-time dad at the moment. So I'm itching and to get out of the house.
Yeah, it's much the same for me as well. Like, I think we had so much fun that, like, me and Slacks debuted at the same time. So we've kind of had the same experience in Ring of Honor where we like kind of had each other when we were meeting everybody and everything. And we kind of turned to each other and be like, everyone's so great. This is amazing.
Yeah.
So I think like we were so excited, like just getting started. We'd only had like a few shows there. So obviously kind of this is not what you wanted the year to be. It was meant to be travel and go and see what happens and everything. But I mean, what happens in the world happens in the world. And I mean, I am just glad to see that Ring of Honor is starting to get back. I mean, of course, we're gonna be sitting there being like, oh, which was there, which could. But the thing is, it won't be like normal. Like exactly, it's like purely for the wrestling, and I think the show is going to be amazing, and the people that are needed are there, and hopefully, yeah, if this goes well, hopefully by the next time, hopefully before the end of the year, we might things might resume back to normal. We don't know. Like I don't think if someone said to me in March, oh, it's going to go on to August, I would have. I was like, no, never, no, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Turns out it is, but I do think that this is like when you hear little bits of news and good news of Ring of Honor running a show again, you start to see like, okay, we're getting there. We can get through it. I've gone this far. I can keep going. So I think the main point is just to try and stay like, so if Ring of Honor, if we can go tomorrow, we can go. We're ready to go, you know, and like I'll be on the first flight there as soon as I'm able to.
That was kind of a good way that you ran in there, because you would feel that some athletes might have some reserve about returning the action, because, you know, if there's a virus out there that you can catch just by being within 6 feet of somebody, imagine wrestling somebody. You're going to be a lot closer than 6 feet.
I think that is a thing that kind of definitely, I think at the start, again, when it was more scary, you know, you didn't know how things kind of were, and just everything about it, it definitely was like, I know going home, I was from Vegas, once the realism of the whole thing was setting in, I was terrified going home. I remember I landed in the airport in Dublin, coming home, and there was nothing, there was no checks. Like nobody asked where you were coming from or anything like that, and I was surprised at how chill everything was. And Ireland had gone into lockdown that morning, like full lockdown. So I was like, am I going to be able to even get from the airport to my house? Am I going to be able to go to the shop? I don't know what's going on. But everything seemed kind of like relaxed and chilled. And then I was in like a little bubble, like I quarantined them for 2 weeks, and it was very scary. But I think as the time has gone on now, I think like I just really want to wrestle again. But there is like that kind of fear in the back of your head. It's like you don't know where everybody is coming from, and like different parts of Ireland now have gone into lockdown. So if like people are coming from high areas, you just don't know. Like it's something as simple as passing someone in the street if they're not wearing a mask. You know what I mean? It can be that simple.
What would you say the differences are between an American lockdown and where you're in Ireland, right? So like with us, we had a nationwide lockdown, but then we had statewide rules. You know what I mean? So nationwide we locked down, but then our individual states had certain rules that we had to follow as far as curfews and things like that. In Ireland, was it a lot of the same to where you had like a nationwide thing and then the citywide or statewide rule, or is it just like whatever was on the news is what you had to do?
Ireland was at the start, for the first while, it was a whole country. But Ireland is really small. Like, we really actually did not do that. We handled it pretty well, like very well, to be fair, compared to a lot of other places. We've had nowhere near the amount of deaths as other people, nowhere near the amount of cases. We are very small, though. I think, like, I'm trying to even think of a state that Ireland might be as big as. It's like, I think you can fit 4 Irelands in Texas.
I get it. I get it. I was just wondering because, you know, when you hear the one thing, you also know that their districts align as well. And you weren't. And then I think Ireland probably was the safest because you can kill the vaccine with like alcohol and disinfectant and stuff like that. So y'all
no at-home cures provided.
I was like, that's why I've been all right this entire time. No, I think we've only done this, like we call them counties. We've done county lockdowns now because I think there was a big outbreak in meat farms in Ireland. So there's like 3 counties that have gone into lockdown again. And like obviously there's like fears of the second waves with the schools opening up now. So like they're talking about it, but they're trying their best to avoid it. And to be fair, it's not the stage that it's at now in Ireland is completely not unmanageable. Like, restaurants are open, shops are open, and gyms and stuff are open for the most part. So I think, like, it's set aside from like my life where I would like fly every weekend to wrestle. Like, most people's lives are semi-returned to normal, and it's just more even keeping that as well as we can for now. I'd like the idea of another lockdown, like, fully. Oh, God.
That's what we're in at the moment. We were in lockdown, and our lockdown ended, and there was a big celebration. Went to the gym, hang out with friends, family. Everyone was celebrating, like, hey, we beat this thing, it's over. And then all of a sudden our numbers spiked back up.
Yeah.
So our state in Victoria, we're the worst state in Australia. So we're back in lockdown, 6 weeks. We can't see family, can't see friends. We've got a curfew. We've got to make sure we don't leave the house at 8 p.m. No going to work. Just not leaving the house. You get 1 hour a day to go for a walk. And that's pretty much it. If you do any shopping, you've got to make sure you do it on your own, not with any other family members. Yeah. Everyone's mandatory wearing the mask. Yeah, so it's crazy here.
I hope
as well.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah, so we're into this stage. It's called the stage 4 lockdown, and we've got 5 weeks to go. So yeah.
And it's scary that what you said it, because I think that's what's happening a lot in America is that we think things are under control, and we're like, okay, you can get a little break here. We're like, I missed the world. And then it's like, boom, it happens all over again.
Well,
it's easy to do.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you guys heard, New Zealand went 100 days without a case. And all of a sudden they've got 4 new cases. So they don't even know how that happened.
Are they still letting people into the country?
I'm not sure, but they had those 4 new cases, and they've straight away gone straight back into lockdown from 4 cases.
I remember there was something a few weeks ago in Ireland where Ireland were letting American tourists in, not even like family or anything like that. So like there was some Americans here on holiday, and it caused uproar because people were like, oh, they're letting people come in on holiday when we're not allowed to leave our houses. So it's that kind of rules as well. So it's like, that's where people are kind of really going mad at the moment, being like, I think we'd be able to keep this maintained if they just do shut the borders for a couple more months or whatever,
Yeah, and that actually brings up a great point. The idea of seeing people and strangers, and as much as we love our Ring of Honor fans, the reality is we don't know where they live. We don't know where they come from. And I think the exciting part is we have such a diverse and huge variety of fans. But with a pandemic, anybody could have the virus, including the folks on this screen right now. Mandy, the Allure always had some of the largest autograph lines, had some of the highest fan interaction in Ring of Honor. Will this change how you interact with fans moving forward, even if there becomes a vaccine and at some point, or if it's eradicated via a lockdown?
And I think the whole world is going to change. Nothing's ever going to go back to normal right now. And if we ever do get to that point where we can have the meet and greets again, it's going to be different. It's going to be different. And there's probably going to be precautions made where, you can't shake hands, or maybe you can't stand next to someone and take a picture with them. We just don't know. But, since we are being honest here, it's scary because even right now, it's kind of what Caprice was saying and Flex, everyone gets so excited because now we can kind of go out there and, explore a little bit more, so to say. But even for myself, I just stay home. Like, even to go to Target to stack up on food again, I'm terrified. I have insane social anxiety. Like, it's just different. Like you said, there's so much still that's unknown. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Ring of Honor was one of the only companies to completely shut down and say, no, we need to protect our staff, we need to protect our talent, and see where this goes from here. And I think there's 2 different views on that. I think a lot of people were like, oh, this is lame, like, why are we shutting down? And a lot of people were like, yes, it's like good for Ring of Honor, because you've seen it these last few months, how many other companies have had talent who have tested positive for COVID. and who have been in contact with other people, and it's spread. And, you know, we've been so fortunate to not have that issue. And we've been really safe and we've been protected, and going back is scary. I'll admit it. It's very scary, but we're all itching to get there and to get back in the ring and to meet everyone again. Will that happen? I don't know. The world is just so weird right now. You know, it's up in the air. It's really scary.
Thank you for that answer. Ring of Honor is, as far as we know, the only company to put a full halt on production in the name of safety. And even just to pull back the curtain a little bit more, I've been authorized to talk more about the bubble. And not only are we to be at one hotel, meals delivered, money provided by Ring of Honor to buy those meals, transportation tracked, contact tracing, testing. One of the additional items is that you will only see your opponent and the referee. And that is an interesting twist on this. It's not, Todd, you're going to be seeing everybody. You're going to be the referee at the upcoming Restart for Television. But myself, Caprice, and yourself are likely the only three people, and maybe Nick Lendl, to be able to actually see everybody that's coming through the taping. We're trying to reduce as much contact as possible. Do you have any reservations or any fears because you'll be exposed to everybody?
I have huge fears. I'm scared S-less, to be perfectly frank. But the way that we're doing this, with the amount of testing that we're doing in the bubble that we're trying to create, which is similar to the NHL and NBA, those two companies have had no positive tests over the last 2 weeks, let's say. I don't know exact dates. We're doing this that way, and that gives me at least a little bit confidence where this is the safe, in this environment, this is as safe as we're going to get. It's not 100% safe. It's not going to be. But I'm scared because I have asthma, so I have, you know, a condition that if I get COVID, I could have issues. I could have bad issues. So I'm taking the risk because I think I want to, and I think I need to. I think this is an important thing for me to do. And it's being done, for me, in my view, properly. If it wasn't being done with a bubble, if it was not being done that way, I would completely opt out, 100%. Because to me, you know, if you look at Major League Baseball and the issues they've had with a few of their teams, the way they're doing things, just to me, is not the proper way to do it. And I don't think that's safe. So I like the way we're doing it. We're using an example that other sports leagues are using, and I think we can pull this off as long as we have buy-in from the entire crew. And that's one real fear I have, straight up. I'm afraid that some people think they're invincible, or some people are like, I don't want to, you know, do I want to sit in a hotel room for 5 days? Like, they're going to itch and they're going to want to go through. We have to have trust amongst the entire locker room and amongst all the people in production, all the people in that building. Even though we're not all going to be there at the same time, we still have to come into the right frame of mind and understand this is what we have to do. We all have to do it. And if there's one person straying from it, someone's life is on the line, flat out. In wrestling, we put our lives in the hands of other people when we go out there and perform. And this is no different to me. It's exactly the same. I'm putting my life into the hands of every person I referee for that day. So I have to have 100% trust in them. And I fear, I'm scared. I'm really scared about it. But I just hope that I can trust everybody to do it.
I think
and your families as well. Like, it's not just you, it's going to affect, it's a ripple effect at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Because everybody, it's not just everyone in that. It's like if someone's there and then they go home, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's my mom, my dad, my brothers, my sisters, your wife, your husband.
Yep.
Yeah. I think what Ian was saying too, it's like we've done such a good job at, you know, instilling those rules and saying, hey, you know, not to expose too much, but, you know, we are a family and we do talk on these Zoom calls and we explain the importance of this and the importance of safety. And I think it's a beautiful thing that amongst everything going on, there have been the people who say, okay, yeah, let's give this a try. You know, like Utah, for example, like you didn't have to do it, but you want to do it and you want to test yourself, and so do the other guys. And it was never forced on us. It was, hey, if you're not comfortable doing this, you don't have to. But if you do it, these are the rules. We have to look out for everybody. And everyone's been on board with it. And the testing and everything going on, praise Jesus, it goes great. And we can continue to do this. But like Caprice said, this is a test. So, you know, this is the first step coming back. And again, yes, other companies have been running all these months. But again, look at the negatives and downfalls to that. Whereas we're being completely 100% safe. So this is dipping the toes in, and we'll see where we go from here. And I'm really excited.
I think it's a powerful thing that Ring of Honor did with us, and it kind of made me trust them more. Because if you look at a lot of organizations, you know, after this stuff went on, you saw really quickly that with that organization, that whether you were a family member or another number. And I think a lot of organizations proved that, you know, you were a number. And Ring of Honor proved to us that we were a family. They took care of us first. And then, like, the testing that we took, like, we had to do it, like, with the doctor and all. And I learned a new part of my body that I never knew that I had. You see what I'm saying? And the doctor was like, you got to stick it further back. I said, further back where? I was scared I was going to be on the thing with Rick and Bonnie. Caprice, come on, how are you doing today? but when you go through that testing, it shows how serious it was, how serious we're taking it. And then everybody had the same mindset that this isn't something that you're going into and playing around. Everybody's serious about it. And like Todd said, there are those that you would think have the mindset of, oh, this can't happen. But I will tell you the truth. When I took that test and I sealed it up in the envelope and I sent it off, I was nervous because I don't have any symptoms. I don't feel I did anything bad, but it was a big deal, you know. And then when I got my results back negative, it was like a weight lifted off of my shoulder. But then I'm like, well, I didn't do anything. I felt to get it, but still knowing that I didn't have it was a big relief. You know what I mean? And so it shows how sometimes we don't think it's a big deal to us until you get tested for it. Then it's like, oh shoot, I could possibly really have this thing, you know? And so, but to get that testing and to see that so many people are coming up negative, and then we went through with it, and that they're taking it serious, it kind of gives me assurance, not only in the company, but in the family atmosphere that we have, that we can do this thing and be safe about it.
Yeah, just a couple of points coming out of that also. Ring of Honor, for those curious, is covering the testing. So not only the testing prior to the event that Caprice is referring to, and they will be testing administered within the bubble, and then upon exit in the bubble, and that's all covered by Ring of Honor. I can tell you that my family has been incredibly thankful and fortunate, as have the folks on this call, that our checks have continued to come during the pandemic. And, you know, if you're on a deal with Ring of Honor, those were adhered to. And it wasn't even a second thought. You know, I remember in Vegas, we were told everybody would be taken care of until this gets sorted out. And that's been accurate. We do have some other questions from the fans, though. We've answered quite a few just naturally in our discussion, but some of our fans had some questions. And let's start with, there's a question about Danhausen, and I'd like to throw this to the group. There's been a lot of interesting activities going on with Ring of Honor. Danhausen's a guy that's clearly taking advantage of this moment, like many of you are. Mandy with your paranormal show, Slex with your thirst your thirst workout videos. If I look like you, man, I'd be doing that too.
Thirst workout videos.
That's awesome.
And
this would be my thirsty attitude.
Yeah. And Martina, you've been participating in a lot of the Ring of Honor events, like the role play and the trivia nights and game nights and things like that. How important is it to kind of take that model like Danhausen has and stay interactive with the fans during this time?
For me, it's been something to keep me a bit sane throughout it all, especially during like the really, really lockdown phase when I was like 4 walls and nothing else. I just kind of found like just going on Twitter and just interacting with people and having a laugh and just putting up joke tweets all the time and just you kind of tapped into being a bit creative during that time, because you're like, okay, I don't have wrestling right now. I don't know when I'm going to get it back. You need to keep your popularity up, very much so. And like, if you have a bit of a personality that you're able to do it, run with it. And like, I checked my numbers there the other day. Over like the quarantine time, I've nearly gotten 10,000 followers, and that's just from.
Wow.
And like, I remember like climbing that, like trying to get like follower after follower or whatever, and like, it's just from putting out random jokes here and there, and just like kind of just taking the piss out of myself over the quarantine, and like people tweeting you saying that like your content is making them feel better and help distract them from whatever's going on in the world. So that's huge. And I've like, for me, it's kept me sane as well. So I've really enjoyed it.
I think it's opened up a lot of things for me, having this added family time and then hitting into the creative. And then like, I've always been a cell phone person. And I think with all the Zoom calls and all that, I actually had to purchase a laptop to be able to do a lot of my work on, to finish things up. But I think it's opened up a lot of, even exercise wise, I'm not as good looking as Slex, but I'm telling you, I'm fine. I'm letting you know something. But I've always been a gym guy, and then finding out ways that I work out at home. I have a lot of free weights at home now that I've purchased, and then I've picked up running. And I've never been able to like run, like I run like over 10 miles a week, and riding my bike, and I'm not like lethal yet, but I'm gonna turn my bike and bought so many accessories for my bike to where it's like I might not go back to the gym. That's what kind of messed me up, because I was riding my bike and got caught in a storm. And then it's like, oh shoot, the meeting's at 6.
And Mandy, you've been extremely active on YouTube, and you have a lot of fun videos, and the paranormal ones are the ones that I like the most that you do.
Hey.
Yeah, and you've been embracing TikTok as well. So
Yes. Even though it might be gone next month, I don't know. We'll see.
Is it?
But no, I don't know. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on right now. It might not
That
be
would be
around
the
much
least
longer,
of it.
but yeah. But it's been fun. It's been fun. Like Caprice said, we're so used to being on the go all the time. It's like, wake up, go to the airport, do the shows next weekend. And that's all we know as pro wrestlers. So having all of this time off, so to say, the last almost 6 months, it's given us so many, I don't know how to word it, but so many new adventures, I guess, ways to look at how you can interact with your fans differently now that you're not wrestling and maybe you don't have content to post. How can you create that content and still have that relationship with your fans? And not only that, but also with family, and just doing things that you've never tried before, and discovering that you have other passions. Like Angelina Love, for example, my partner, she discovered that she likes gardening. She would have never known that she loved gardening if we weren't in this situation. So behind all of the pandemic and disasters going on, there's also a lot of blessings in a way, I guess you can say, because you've developed so many different relationships, and you've discovered so many new things that you like, and you have that time to kind of find more about yourself. So I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. With this time off, it's I've got 2 little ones. I've got a little boy and a little girl, as I mentioned earlier, and this is valuable time. This is time that I never would have been able to spend with them and watch them grow. And literally, my wife's working full time, so it's daddy daycare at my house, and that is hard work. Let me tell you, that's actually it's pretty full on. But I'm keeping busy as well. Like, as soon as the gym's closed, I made sure that I got some equipment, and I just made sure, okay, I could easily go one way here. I could easily just stop training, start eating bad food, and get out of shape and be really lazy and unmotivated, because we just don't know when we need to be ready. And then I just made that commitment right there and then. And it's like, no, I'm gonna make sure that I stay on track, train every day. Caprice, as you said, you started to find things that you maybe weren't as good at, so you worked on them. So I started stretching more, which I probably didn't do as much. I'm like really bad at skipping, so I taught myself how to skip properly, and now I can skip, and I'm skipping a lot, which is really cool. And then it's just little things like sharing my workouts on Instagram, and some of the recipes I do, and all the rest of that stuff, just trying to interact there. But the main thing is just, yeah, spending that quality time with my family that I never would have had the chance to do. It's just been, yeah, as much as it sucks that we're not wrestling, the family and the quality time I'm getting to spend with them, that's just, yeah, amazing.
And Todd, I know the NHL's back. You're a huge Bruins fan. You gotta like being able to watch playoff hockey almost 24/7 in the first round at least.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to have some normal things back. Like we've been in this 5 months. I grew this hideous / beautiful beard over this time, and I'll shave it when we finally get back into action. But like I've been locked down for 5 months. Like I don't go anywhere. I've been to the grocery store maybe 3 times. I've been to Target twice. I haven't seen another human being that has been a part of my life, like family or friends, other than the person that bags my groceries in 5 months. So it's been, for me, it's been hard in that aspect. I've enjoyed a couple of, some of the YouTube stuff that we've done. We did the Draft of Honor that's coming up. But I don't want to be the star, so I like being the supporting act whenever we're needed for these things. But as far as social media, I actually have taken a step away from social media for the most part. It's just a toxic place, man. I've had a hard time with it. I have had a really hard time with the loss of Hana. That really hit me hard. So I've kind of stepped away from social media for the most part. I'll retweet stuff here and there. But it has been a great thing for me to step away from that, because I think it can get very, very toxic. So for me, I'm kind of glad I've stepped away from that stuff.
That would be something for me as well. Like even when I'm tweeting and stuff, I kind of, especially in the last couple of months, as you said, like when Hannah died, that was like a real turning point of things for me as well. That's when things seemed to get like really dark. And it was like everything changed. And it was like the case, you have one side of yourself where you have to keep up your character, your personality, stuff like that, and keep yourself important, because when things get back to normal, you want to be seen again. But then there's a mental health aspect of keeping yourself sane. And if you sit there being locked down, sitting on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, looking at this fake world, it drives you crazy. So I think the best part of lockdown even was kind of you have no other choice but to find other things to keep yourself, things outside of wrestling, to get a bit of a life outside of wrestling. Because I know for me personally, I've been wrestling 10 years, but like the last 3 or so, I've been doing it full time and travel. It was just wrestling constantly. I didn't make any sort of like kind of life for myself outside of it. So this was like a punch to be like, see, it's not going to be here forever in a way. Like maybe, this is where like open a book. Go running, as you said, I've started running, I've started cycling. Like I live on mountains that I finally get to go and see and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I actively try find stuff to get me off my phone. That's very important. And I think especially right now, it's so important.
That's the other thing, being, especially for me, I don't know about for you guys, but being stuck at home, like every day for me is literally the same. If I it's literally like the same thing. Every day is just so mundane. And so you've got to get out of your head a little bit. And I've started just writing, like, it's stupid. It might seem stupid, but like a little list of things that I need to do in the day or something to achieve, because if I don't, I just feel like my time is I'm spending time with the kids, so it's amazing, but it's just like, so yeah, you just get stuck in your own head a little bit, and you can get a little, some days you can get a little bit down and a bit dark and a bit depressed, but you've just got to look at the little positives, and yeah, just try and get up each day and attack the day with a goal, and then it makes you feel like you're achieving something, and you're getting ahead each day. That's my that's what I try and do. Try and set out a little task, and then I achieve it, and then I go to bed and I'm going, yeah, all right, cool, I did that.
I'd say even like working out though, like as you're saying, you could have gone 2 ways of like letting yourself go a mess, but like not doing that and like training every day kind of gives you the hope of like, one day I'll get back wrestling. One day I'll be back at Ring of Honor. So you're kind of working towards that. Because I feel like if someone was to say like, okay, that's it, wrestling's gone, it's over now, it's done, then you'd be like, no, well, I'm just gonna let myself go then. But the fact is, we are always looking forward to something, and it's that day that we get that message saying, right, we're back, we're good to go. You know what I mean? And at least all the times of every day being the same will be worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it always feels like it comes when you hit that, I call it the Slex slope. Like, Slex is working out, and then you kind of slope and then they're like, oh, we might be doing this. Oh, let me get back. Let me get back into the thing. Because the worst thing that happens is you're like in phenomenal shape, and then like you just fall off or whatever, and then everything goes back to normal. Like, man, you should have saw me 2 weeks ago. I had to go.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was so worried about, because I got like in the best shape of my life, and then I'm like, I've got to maintain this. How the hell am I going to maintain this? And it was just like this daunting thing of like, I mean, getting to my garage to train is harder than getting to a gym. I mean, even though it's closer, you'd think it'd be easier. Just taking like 3 steps to go and train at home, I just like.
It's because home has a mental. I remember reading this ages ago when I first started going to the gym. It was like I started out trying to do like home workouts, and someone said to me like, "You'll never be able to work out at home properly because home is a sense of comfort. It's where you kind of go to relax and stuff. So imagine like working out in your room, you just don't put the 2 and 2 together." And I was like, then when this happened, I was like, "Oh my god, what am I gonna do?"
Well, for me, it was like when I first came back, I went into was quarantined for 2 weeks, because I came back from LA. I didn't get to Vegas, but I came back for 2 weeks. So I quarantined, and then we went into lockdown. So that was fine, because it was like a new thing. All right, I'm gonna stay in shape. I'm gonna train every day. This is gonna be awesome. This won't go on forever. It'll only be a couple weeks. So I'm like training in my backyard, training with I got my kids in the backyard with me. It's sunny, it's shiny. I'm like, this is awesome. And then now that the time's gone on, it's like, this is never going to end. So like, I just had this massive like slump of like, oh, I don't know if I can keep doing this. This is really hard, but I'm sort of over that hill now, and just, I don't believe in motivation, and I've got to get motivated to go to the gym. Now it's just habit. It's like, all right, this is something I just have to do. There's no ifs or buts. I mean, I love to train, but sometimes it's hard to get in there, but I just make sure that I just get in there and do it now.
And it's the closest thing to work now, isn't it? Really, like it's like, this is the work that I got to do.
and it's like you're like, these guys are paying me to stay in shape. It's the least that I can do. But I think not going to the gym kind of proves to me, kind of exposed my vanity, because like it's a way of like going to the gym and you're doing this weight, and people are like, wow, you're strong, or you're doing it. And it's kind of like that look that you get at the gym, that people like are admiring you and stuff like that. And it's like, nobody's admiring you at home. It's like, oh, dad's working out, or that, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, I actually look good when I'm doing it. She's supposed to tell me I look good. You're supposed to ask me for pointers, and you're supposed to follow me around the gym. That's what you gotta do. I'm not following you around the house, Dad.
There's no mirrors either. You can't look at yourself and
Oh, I think the most relatable thing that was said all night was, man, I'm always just in such great shape. It's just on the week that we don't run, even back when we're running, you always miss my 6-pack, Ring of Honor. But with that being said, a lot of relatable things. And I think the biggest highlight of that was the idea that we can push through, and that even though we are separated sometimes in our own homes, and sometimes for the good of the rest of us being quarantined, we're really not that far away from one another, and we can do things like these Zoom calls. Ring of Honor has set up quite a few for the team, for the entire roster. But I know I've kept in touch with my extended family that way as well, with things like Zoom and Facebook Messenger and Google Hangouts and things like that. So, if there's one last piece of advice for the folks that are watching, one thing that you can, word of encouragement, advice to make the rest of this situation better, what would you give them? And name the one match you want to have, or one match you want to referee when we get back in full swing. So I'll start this off with Caprice. One match that you'd want to call when we get back, or one match maybe you'd want to wrestle. I know I've seen you, man. You're shredded too. And then just some words of encouragement for the folks that may be watching this. Not everybody's circumstances are the same right now, and some folks might just need a little push, and it'll pick me up.
I think I definitely, I call my muscles my just in case muscles, just in case I get called back to do something. And I keep my eyes on people, and I'm always, chomping at the bit, just in case I jump back in the ring. So I'm always staying ready, in shape or whatever, but I'm looking forward to calling the action. And I'll tell you why, because I've realized that I'm in a very important position, and to be able to tell the story of professional wrestling. And I look at the athletes like Slex and a lot of these guys that are phenomenal athletes, and to be able to paint the picture to the audience of what's really going on inside of that ring, and to also be able to participate, it's a big deal for me, and the encouragement that I can give people is I'm at a place in life to where I've been away from my job for almost 6 months. And I realized that the people on my job love me. They care about me. They care about us. And I love my job and I miss my job. You know what I mean? And so how many people in the world can say, man, I love my job and I miss my job and I'm ready to go back to work? And I attest that to being able to follow your dreams. So if I had to say something to somebody or whatever listening out there, it would be follow through with your dreams, because, your dreams can come true, and you can have a job to where you love what you're doing at work, and you love to get there, and you love the people that you're around. And I know a lot of times things get hard and things seems like, I'm not going to be able to do this dream, but I think your dream comes when you prove that you have resolve. And resolve is you prove that you're going to do it when things get hard, when things are not easy, and you're still following through. So if there's that person out there that feels like, I'm following this dream, I'm trying to do that and all, don't give up. Do it. And then always bet on yourself, man. If you feel like you're not getting what you want, and you feel like you're not getting what you deserve or whatever, going out there and proving yourself and not being afraid to prove yourself to other people to get what you need to get. And I promise you, you could be in a position like a lot of us. We're sitting here talking, and most of the time we've just been chopping it up, with each other, because we miss each other. And there you can see, this is proof that it's kind of like a family atmosphere. And so the encouragement I would have is to encourage that one person that's, almost ready to give up on their dreams because they feel like this pandemic might have washed it away. It didn't. What I think it did do was give you time to hone your craft. And you could take this time and you can waste it, or you could take this time and you can come out of your quarantine as a brand new person with a plan. That's all I'm going to say.
I love it. Martina, how about you?
How am I going to follow that? That was amazing.
That was amazing. I feel inspired
that's a wrap.
right now.
Yeah, you should have left it on that. I'll start with the match. I was supposed to wrestle Nicole Savoy in Vegas. So I think coming back, I was really excited about that one. So that's probably the first on the list. But then we know that there was the women's tournament coming up. And so hopefully when the world allows it again, we can go through with that, and that'll be a great experience. I'm not really one for words of wisdom, like a priest here, but I would just say to anybody, just as kind of what Slex said, like try find something in every day to wake up for and work towards, because we've come this far so far. Like we all thought I know I did not think I'd make it to August if someone told me that this was going to go on the song, and I have. So, if it needs be, I'll make it to September. I'll make it to October. We have something to look forward to. Like we're all in this together. We're all working to make it better, and we all want to be back together again. So just holding on to that is enough for me. And hopefully everybody has something in their lives to kind of work towards and look forward to, because tomorrow's another day. We'll try to get better and drink beer.
Martina.
Or wine.
Wine. Oh, there you go.
Oh yeah. I'm okay with wine.
Andy, I don't want
water.
Water. There you go. Don't want to spoil too much, but Ring of Honor, the press release has said we intend to pick up where we left off. The Pure tournament was, of course, on the docket. The women's tournament, like Martina mentioned, was there as well. Is that something you'd be looking forward to? I know Ring of Honor still has it in the plans. We just don't know exactly the sequence.
Right. Yeah, we don't know anything right now, unfortunately, but I think that's the one thing. I don't have a specific match to really look forward to right now, but the tournament. I'm really excited to see when that does come into fruition, what everything is going to look like. And there's been a lot of changes since we've announced talent. So are there going to be different women coming in now and replacing talent that was announced? And we have a new belt that's going to be revealed, and there's so much to look forward to when that does come back into the light. And we just, like Martina said, have to hold on to that and just be positive, which is so much easier said than done. But use this time to, like I said, find something that you didn't know you had a passion for, and just keep a positive mindset. We are all going through this. We all have different circumstances at home, but just focus on yourself and what makes you happy. And like we all said, social media is extremely toxic right now. Trust me when I say, if you just put your phone down for 1 hour and literally just go outside for a walk, you see a whole new world out there. That's just the web. There's so much more out there, and you feel so much more relaxed and stress-free. So know that we're doing well. We're all safe. We're all happy. The Pure title is back. Hopefully the new women's title will be revealed soon. Maybe that'll be the next tournament. You never know. You never know. So, yeah, we can't wait to see
with
you guys.
international talent. Yay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, the good news is something that we haven't mentioned is that the rate of severe infection has gone down by the way it's measured, and the rate of death has gone down. So as we learn more about the virus, we begin to learn how to treat it more. And I, of course, leave that to the medical professionals. There hasn't been a catch-all cure yet. There hasn't been a virus yet. But I'm, like all of us, I believe, are hopeful that that day will come very, very soon. Todd, and you've been with Ring of Honor the longest out of anybody on this panel. Maybe one match or one wrestler you're looking forward to ref, and any words of encouragement from the fans that might be watching this?
I don't have a specific match. It really is just getting back into this. Wrestling's a part of me. It's like it's built into me. When I was a kid watching it and now refereeing it, I just need it, and I missed it. I've missed it for 5 months, so I'm just excited to get back into it. If it's a specific match, I'm excited for the finals of that tournament. The Pure title, that belt it's beautiful. It's a beautiful belt, and it'd be nice to have that back at the forefront of the company. So I'm excited for that. Just words of encouragement. Just like I said about social media or anything that bothers you. It doesn't have to be social media. But anything that's toxic, that brings you anger, that brings you sadness, whether it's that or watching the news, and if you just can't handle that, just cut it out. Turn it off. It just, you don't need that in your life. And if you're gonna dabble in it, and then once it starts getting you into that mood, just shut it off. There's such a relief, and there's such freedom when you get away from those things. So that's my advice for people.
I personally want to see Todd Sinclair do another leapfrog in the ring. Just saying. And Ian, you dropping an elbow. But no, just to touch on that real quick on what you said, I will say that I found over quarantine these past few months that I kind of really haven't been invested in the wrestling I've been seeing on TV. And one of the main things I'm looking forward to Ring of Honor coming back is us doing something completely different than anybody else, and just focusing on pure athletic and awesome pro wrestling, which is what everyone needs right now. So I think the fans are in for a good treat.
Thank you, Mandy, and we'll send it to Slex. Slex, maybe one match that you're looking forward to when you come back stateside, and any words of encouragement. You and I both have kids the exact same age, and maybe a word of encouragement for the parents out there.
Yeah, well, if with a match, it's hard to pick one, but like Ring of Honor has purely the best talent on the planet in the company, and I came here for competition. So if I could pick one match, I've got to mention two matches. One match would be Dragon Lee, because I want that TV title, and I think I came to Ring of Honor to bring the best out of me, and that's healthy competition. And I think that would be a match that I want. And also, I get some payback for Shane Taylor. He's been jumping at me every bit he can, and I think he's jealous that I signed a big money contract before he did, because maybe I took some of his change. So I think that's why he's coming after me. So I wouldn't mind that match. Words of encouragement, I would say do something that you love every day. Find your passion. little things for me that have helped. Like Mandy said, go for a walk. The walk, like, I think I didn't leave the house for like, there's probably a period where I didn't leave the house for like 2 weeks. It was like really wet and rainy here, so we couldn't get outside. I was feeling really like down on myself. I started walking again, and just that 1 hour of walking a day has literally changed my life. It has motivated me. So yeah, find something that you love, write some things down and tick them off, because when you achieve something every day, it makes you feel better, and it feels like you've got some self-worth and you're actually doing something. And to the parents out there, it's tough, it's crazy. Just as much as sometimes the kids can drive you crazy, just think how lucky you are to spend this time with your kids, and come up with fun activities for them and keep them busy, and just really, enjoy it, because you're probably never going to get this opportunity. This is like a once in a lifetime opportunity where you're staying home for all this time with your kids and your family. So cherish it, love it, embrace it. And yeah, hopefully, we're back at Ring of Honor starting shows again. So we're going to be back pretty soon. And hopefully me and Martina are back in the States doing what we love to do, because we can't wait.
Well, thank you, everybody. It's been my pleasure with Caprice to host this ROH Roundtable. I'm looking forward to, I've seen some of the names, Caprice, you have too. We got to pull a Mean Gene here. We can't quite say them. They're too hot for TV. But some of these names, I'm looking forward to some of the guys that are gonna be chomping at the bit to make their mark, because there's some names that you don't normally see on Ring of Honor television that are going to be in this tournament, and that may have the capability and possibility of shaking things up. So I'm looking forward to that. And my words of encouragement, call your loved ones, use Zoom, use Facebook, use whatever means you have. I've been one of the fortunate ones. I have not lost anyone to COVID-19, but many have. And if there's somebody that you love and you care about and you haven't talked to them in a long time, you'll feel a lot better if you call them up, if you video call them and tell them how you feel. And if you have a moment to do that, I encourage everybody to do that as well. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to thank everybody that's been on the front lines, including my sister Jess, my sister-in-law Nicole, who are both nurses, who've been right in the front lines of this pandemic. And I hope everybody stays safe. New Ring of Honor matches, new Ring of Honor television, new Ring of Honor wrestling is coming your way soon across all Sinclair stations, across Spike TV, across ROHWrestling.com, and we're so excited to bring it to you. Thanks for joining us, everybody. For Caprice, Martina, Slex, Mandy, Todd Sinclair, I'm Ian Riccaboni. Happy wrestling, everybody, and we'll see you at the next ROH Roundtable.
Yeah.